Hello, everybody. This is live. Okay. Let's see if you can hear me. All right. So give me 1 second. I'm going to fix all the issues here. Okay. All right. This is live. Welcome, everybody. So we got a lot of technical problems, but we finally made it. So today's live is all about IELTS reading and specifically GapFill question types. So if you're a person that might be interested in taking the IELTS exam in the future, near future, or far future, or if you're planning to take any other exams, any English proficiency exams, you might want to watch this live today because the techniques and strategies and the things that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be useful for you too, because we're going to talk about how to answer questions, one of the reading questions. So it's going to be helpful, not just for people who want to take the IELTS test, but also for anybody who wants to take English exams, reading part specifically for today. So it's going to be a short live, and you're going to enjoy it if you keep up with me. If the sound is clear, so I got a couple of microphones. So we got some people here also on another platform. So I probably look at different cameras here. So just so you know. All right, so let's just directly get into it. I'm gonna check if the sound is okay, everything is fine. So just let me know. So we're gonna just dive into it. A lot of you might watch this right now live, but I'm sure that many of you will watch this later on. I'm going to save the live. I'm going to put it on my channel so you can see it later. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so what is IELTS reading? So let me give you a little bit of a background, a little bit of an introduction about, so you need to get an idea of what the test is about. And then we're going to jump into GapFill questions. So basically, so IELTS exam is one of the, as you might know, is one of the tests where it challenges your proficiency. So it's going to measure how good you are in English language. Now, in the case of the reading section, so there are different sections: listening, writing, speaking. And today we're going to talk about reading. So in the case of reading section, we need to know that this part is going to take about 60 minutes, okay? Which means an hour, right? So why, I'm going to tell you later on why knowing these numbers are important, okay? So you need to know that this is going to take 60 minutes, just the reading section, okay? So IELTS test is basically a long exam. And there are going to be 40 questions, okay? 40 questions, 60 minutes. And then in case you take the reading module, in case you take the academic module, because there are different types of IELTS exams. Let's say you take the academic IELTS, because, well, it's more likely if you're a student, if you want to study master's degree or a PhD in an English-speaking country, you probably want to take the IELTS academic module. So let's say you're going to take an academic IELTS. So in that case, there are going to be 3 reading passages. I'm gonna put a P here. 3 reading texts. 3 reading texts. Each one of these reading texts is gonna have some questions. In total, all 3 reading passages, you'll see 40 questions. Okay, so that will be the total number of questions that you have to answer. Now, if you pay attention to the numbers here, 60 minutes, 40 questions. So if you're a good math person, if a good math guy or girl, how many, well, let's say, how much time do you think you have per question? So that's your first challenge in the reading text. So wherever you're watching, if you're watching here, so if you want to type in the chat, how much time do you think you will have per question? So let me check the comments. If anybody leaving any comments. Okay, on YouTube. All right. Okay, so here I see, no, that's not 2 minutes. It's not correct. So it's less than that, okay? So 60 minutes, 40 questions. So it's gonna be a minute and something. So it's less than 2 minutes, because if you had 2 minutes, then will be 40 questions multiplied 2 will be 80 minutes, but you don't have 80 minutes, you have 60 minutes, okay? So that's the first thing that's important. So that will be your biggest enemy, your biggest challenge in the IELTS reading test, okay? So time is your biggest challenge, which means that you have to be really good at it. So a lot of us, just to give you an idea, a lot of us read books, materials, textbooks, whatever. But when it comes to exam, it's very different. You have to be really fast, okay? So you have to know a lot of strategies to know how you can read faster, better, more efficiently, because in the case of IELTS and many other exams, you don't have that much time, okay? You don't have a lot of time to answer the questions. In this case, you even have less than 2 minutes per question. So it's a lot of a challenge. Okay, now that's to just give you an idea, okay, what the IELTS reading test is about. So 60 minutes, 40 questions, 3 reading passages in the case of IELTS academic. And then there are a number of question types. Okay, so this is also important to know. There are a couple of question types that we have. Let's say we have 6, 7. Well, you don't see all of the question types in this in one test. You probably see 4 or 5. Okay, let's say we got 7, 8, 9 different question types. Okay, one of those question types, which is very common, is GapFill. Okay, and today we're gonna see an example of how to answer these GapFill question types. Okay, so again, every now and then I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions here on Instagram or YouTube, or let me see. Yeah, it's fine. All right, so we're gonna get into GapFill question. Okay, so what is GapFill question? So GapFill question is when you have a text, I'll write it here. Let's say you have a text and then you have a gap, and then you have the rest of the text. Okay, sometimes you have a couple of options like A, B, C. Sometimes you don't have options and you have to find the option in the text, in the reading text. Okay, now, I mean, I'm just giving you an idea. Okay, we're going to get to a real question, but this is going to be something similar to this that you're going to see. So you have a little bit of a gap. Could be you might want to write 1 word, 2 words. That depends on the instruction. And then you have some options or no option. Okay, so that would be called a gap fill question, right? Now, how do we answer this question? So what do you think? Like, you have something, do you have to just look at, how do you decide which option is correct? Or if you don't have any options, how do you decide where to look at it? So this is what we're going to learn right now. Now, the first important thing that you need to realize when you see a question, you have to see, because we have a reading text, okay? In the IELTS exam, in the case of IELTS, you have this question or a set of questions, but you also have a text. And you have to find where the corresponding information is located, right? And then the first thing that you need to realize is, okay, where can I find this piece of information on my corresponding text? Okay, because your text has a number of paragraphs. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to realize. So the way that you do it is by highlighting a couple of keywords. What are keywords? Keywords are important words that carry meaning. Okay, so for example, let's say it's a date. It's a number. Could be a location, a city, a country. So there are a couple of words that can give you a clue, an idea of where you can find the answers to the questions. Okay, so this is one of the things you have to realize. So you might want to highlight some of those keywords, okay, in the question. Okay, so those keywords will help you locate the answer. All right. The other thing that you have to realize is the instruction. There is going to be an instruction before you answer the question. So what are the instructions? Normally, for a GapFill question type, the instruction tells you a couple of things, gives you a couple of options. So what are the options? They tell you either you can have, I'm going to write it here. Okay, get my. It can tell you you can have one word. You can write one word here. So these are going to be different options. Okay, I'm gonna delete, erase this part. Okay, so I'm gonna write instructions. So what could be the instruction for a gap fill? Normally they gave you can write one word only. So the instruction tells you explicitly, you only can write one word here. Okay, whether you find it in the text, or if you have, well, if you have options, you have options. If you don't have options, sometimes it tells you you have one word and a number. Okay, so in that case, you can write either one word in the gap, one word and a number. So a word and a number, or just a number. Okay, so it could be just a number. The answer can be a number. And then the other instructions could also be 2 or 3. When it becomes 2 or 3, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Because in that case, you have multiple options. You could have 2 words in the gap. You could have 2 words and a number, will be 3 things. You could have just a number, it will be another option. You could also have 3 words and or a number. So it could be 3 words. Well, the answer could be 1 word. It includes 1 word. It includes 2 words or 3 words. It can also be 1 word and a number, 2 words and a number, 3 words and a number, or a number. It's kind of mathematical, right? So that would, like, the most challenging one would be 3 words and a number. 3 words and a number and or a number. That's what they say. Then you will have a lot of options. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do when you get to a gap fill question type in the IELTS reading is read the instruction carefully. See which one of these you get. Do you get 1 word and a number? Just 1 word? 2 words and a number? So then you know exactly your options. This is in case there are no lists. There's no list of options. You have to find the word exactly in the text. Okay. Now, let's see today. Well, actually, we're going to see an example where there are options. Okay. Again, As I said, every now and then, I'll see here what's going on, if the connection is okay, the sound is fine. All right. If you couldn't hear me, you can just type in the chat. All right, I think everything's okay. Okay, now let's answer one question that has options. Okay, I'm gonna write the answer here, a question here, and then let's see if we can answer it together. Question. The company's new marketing campaign. The company's new marketing campaign was designed to then we got a gap. Consumer interest. Interest in their products. In their products. Okay, so that's the question. Now, let's imagine we're going to make it easy today, okay? In the IELTS test, it can be harder. You're not going to have these similar options, but let's make it easy right now to understand the concept of this question. So I'm going to give you 4 options here. A, we got peak. B, we got piquant. With an A. C, we got, I don't have more space. Piquancy. Piquancy. All right. And then we have a D option, which is peaked. With a D at the end, okay? See if you can see it. I am not very hard to see. Okay. All right, now we're going to see which option is correct and how do we decide on the correct answer. The first thing you need to know in such questions, a gap fill, after the other things that I already told you, is that I need to, well, first of all, you have to locate it, okay? So after those tips that I said already. The other thing that you have to look for is, okay, here's a gap. It's designed to consumer interest in their products. Okay, the first thing that's important here is you have to look at around the gap. Okay, so what does it mean? Around the gap means 1 or 2 words after gap and 1 or 2 words before the gap. Okay, so in this case, consumer interest, designed to, specifically the word that comes before and after. So specifically to and consumer, okay? Because they give you an idea of how or what word is missing inside the gap. Okay, so that's the first thing. Why? Because you say, okay, designed to what word comes after to? So that's something important. What words do you think comes after to? That's an idea. Or when the word is here, what is the word that comes after that? What words can come after that? So in this case, consumer is here. So what words can come before consumer? That's something to give you an idea. Now, when you see these words, what I want you to do first is I want you to guess, make a prediction on what word is missing in the gap. Okay, so we're talking grammar here a little bit. Grammatically speaking, what word do you think is missing in the gap? So you could have some options. You could have an adjective. You could have a noun. You could have a verb. You could have an adverb. These are the most common parts of a speech, right? So what do you think? What word is missing here? Do I need an adverb inside the gap? Or do I need a noun inside the gap? Do I need an adjective? Do I need a verb? Okay, so this is the thing that you have to guess. What word is missing in the gap? Now, okay, I'm gonna leave it here. So again, I'll check the live every now and then to see if there's a question comes up or there's a problem with the sound or something. And also here, I want you to guys tell me if there is in case there's a problem. I see everything's fine. Okay, awesome. All right, now, so you have an idea? Anybody in the chat? You wanna write in the chat, type in the chat, what word do you think is missing here? Anywhere here on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, we're live everywhere. Okay, so what do you think? What words do you think is missing? Most of you will watch this after the live, okay, at the time that you are comfortable with, but take a guess. What word do you think is missing here behind the gap? After to, before consumer. What word do you think we need? What type of word? I don't say pick the answer here. Just what kind of word? Imagine you don't have an option. What do you think is missing? Yeah? Okay, I see some people typing here. Okay, no. No, you don't need an adverb. Okay. Yeah, people on TikTok are really active. Yeah. Let me check here. All right, I see John's saying a verb is missing. Is it? Okay. To. After to, what's more likely? Yeah, it's a verb. Okay. And here. All right. I'm gonna wait 10 more seconds. To. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay, no. Yeah, the verb was correct. Okay, so we need a verb here. Now, why this is important? Why is this something that you have to pay attention to before answering a question in the gap fill time? Because this is a sentence, right? And a sentence must be grammatically and meaningfully correct. So when you put a word from here or from the reading passage inside the gap, and then you read the sentence, it has to make sense and it has to be grammatically correct. That's why we have to guess what word is missing here. All right. So we need a verb. Now, when we understand, okay, there is a verb necessary here, then you have to pick the answer here. So we got peak, piquant, piquancy, and peaked. So again, people who are watching in any platform, you can guess in the chat what do you think, what word is missing, which one is the correct answer. Now, as you're thinking about it, I'm gonna give you an idea. So first of all, we have to know what the meaning is, okay? And we also need to know what part of speech we have here. So peak, what does peak mean? What do you think peak means? Anybody here in the chat? Or any of other, well, these are different forms of the word peak. Okay, so you could tell that. What do you think peak means? I wanna look at the chat to see if anybody has the meaning of the word peak. And you can also tell me what, which one is an adjective, which one is an adverb, which one can be a verb. Okay. In the chat. Okay. All right. Yeah, good job. Okay, so peak. Let's talk about it. Peak. Well, first of all, this is one of the interesting words that I like in English, because this word has meanings that are completely opposite. One of the meanings that peak has is to annoy someone, to make someone upset, to make them feel upset. The other meaning, which is completely different, is to make someone feel interested, to make someone feel curious. Okay, so it's very weird, right? It's one of those words that has a meaning that is like one is on one side, the other on the other side, positive, negative. Now, how do I decide which one I need? Again, you have to pay attention to the context. So in this case, our context is the question and also the reading passage. Okay, in the case we have a reading passage, then well, which we will have in the IELTS test, that will be your context. Depending on the context, then you can guess if you need the positive meaning of peak or the negative meaning of peak. Okay, so that will be the meaning. And then now let's guess which part of the speech is which one. So peak, again, let me check the chat before. Okay. Got a lot of active people on TikTok. Okay. Peak can be a noun. To peak could be a noun. It can also be a verb. So think about that. Piquant, A-N-T. So what do you think this one is? This is an adjective. Piquancy is a noun. And then peaked is the past form of the verb in the case if the peak is a verb. Okay, so we got a noun. If I want to put a noun and a verb, an adjective, a noun again, and then a verb in the past. So according to our question, was designed to something, consumer interest in their product. So what word was missing? A verb. So which one of these are verbs? Or which ones? Peak or peaked are verb. Okay, so we need, so immediately we can cross out two of the options in this case. So we don't need an adjective, we don't need a noun here. So the noun form of peak and these other options are out of the list. Okay, so eliminate. So this is a technique also. When you have a list of options, when you know that option doesn't belong to your gap, you can eliminate it. So your mind will be free. Now, we only have two options, peak and peaked. Let's see which one can be possible here. Again, you guys can type in the chat, wherever you are watching this live, or if you're watching it after live, and you can guess which one now we need. So let's read the sentence again. The company's new marketing campaign was designed to consumer interest in their products. So after to, again, we come back to the word. What kind of verb do we need? Do we need a simple verb, base form, or can we also write the ed form, the past form? Okay, again, this comes back to your knowledge of language. Obviously, we need the simple form. So the correct answer will be peak, the first option. Now, there is another way. Okay, let's imagine we have a list of other words. Okay, so this was so easy. In the IELTS, it is harder. It's not that easy. You might have peak in the list, but you have a list of many other options. Okay, sometimes they're longer. Now, in that case, how do we, and let's say the rest of the list, all of the words are verbs. So it's going to be harder to guess. You have a list of verbs. One of the verbs is peak, and then you have other verbs. So it's not going to be that easy. So in that case, how do we guess? So in that situation, you have to pay attention to the meaning, to the context. So let's see. The company's new marketing campaign was designed to do something. The marketing campaign was designed to do something with or for the consumer interest in the products. Okay, so they're doing something when they are marketing their products so that they can do something with the consumer interest. Okay, so this could be, is it, well, first of all, do I need a positive word here or a negative word? So I need a positive word because it's about consumer interest. Okay, so why do you market your product? You want to increase the consumer interest. So the word that we need in the gap should be a positive word. It has to mean increase, drive, elevate, or to make your customers interested, curious in the product. Okay, so without even having a word inside, I can tell what kind of word I need in the gap by just reading this. If I have a reading passage, that would make my job even easier because it gives you an idea. Okay, in the case of IELTS reading, one thing that I want to tell you is that the word that you write here must be either in the list of words that you have or directly from the reading passage. You cannot invent a word. Okay, if you need a verb here, the verb must exist in the reading passage. Very important. Okay, if you have a list, well, fine, you just pick it up from the list. But if you don't have a list, the word must come from the text. You cannot invent it. Very important. Now, okay, so I guessed I need a positive word that means elevate something related to the customer's interest. Okay, now if I have a list of other words, then I can guess, okay, which word is negative, which word is positive, which word can be related to my context. So that's how I guess. Then another thing that can help me is if I'm familiar with American English. Okay, so American English, British English, Australian English, you have to be familiar. In the IELTS, mostly British, but not always. You might also get things that are not coming from British English. Okay, so in American English, this phrase It's very common. To pique consumer interest. This is a phrase. Or to pique consumers' curiosity. Okay, so this is a phrase actually. So if you've never seen this phrase or if you've never heard of it, again, it's going to be hard to guess. Okay, but this phrase, to pique consumer interest, is a phrase that is used commonly in American English, especially, which means to make your customer interested in your product or to make them feel curious in your product. So that's another reason why pique is the correct answer here. So this is in the case that you don't have options, a list of options, or you have a list of options, but there are other words. That's how you can guess pique is the word that you need. Okay, so to wrap up quickly, there are so many other types of gap fill, so we can't cover all of them. But to wrap up quickly, to recap whatever we learned today. So first of all, read the instruction for the question. Know which how many words you are allowed to write in the gap, 1, 2, 3, or a combination of words and numbers, a number actually. That's your first thing. Read the instruction, know what word, how many words you can write. Then look for some keywords, important words. New marketing campaign, so that could be a key phrase. The keywords will help you find a corresponding paragraph where the answer is located. Okay, you can find that based on the keywords. Then look at the gap, look around the gap, before the gap, after the gap. That's how you can predict, you can guess what word's missing inside the gap. Okay, do I need an adjective, adverb, noun, verb, whatever. Okay, then when you did that, you could look at the options, the list of options, to cross them out, to eliminate the options that you don't need. Okay, if you have a list of options. Okay, and then see which one is a better match according to the meaning. Obviously, if you don't know the meaning of pique, that would be harder. Okay, so your language level, your general English level should be at a certain level, certain point where you, well, the thing is, techniques and strategies are perfect. You need them for such tests, but your English language level should also be good enough. Okay, so if you are answering a question at a B2 level, but you're not a B2 student, so first you have to work on your general English, and then you have to learn how to answer exam questions. So that's the other thing. Okay, and then you pick the correct answer. Now I'm gonna check the chat in different platforms that we got. Okay. If you have any questions, I'm going to finish the live in a second. You can write it. If you have any questions that you want to know about this, or in any part that is not clear, you want more explanation, write in the chat. Again, if the chance that you watch this live in the future is a lot more than right now, because we had technical problems and we started the live late. So after this, I want you to write your questions wherever you're watching, here, there, wherever you're watching. Write your question. Okay, what part needs more explanation? Or in the case of IELTS reading exam, what question type or question format is more difficult for you? Okay, so write that in the chat so I can make another live or a video about it later. Or if there's anything else about IELTS exam in general, because we're going to have live sessions about IELTS speaking, listening, writing. There's so many things we can talk about. Okay, I can't cover everything. This was just a very tiny part of the reading, because there's so many question types in the reading There's so many different strategies. We just look at one part of one section of one question format of the reading. So it's a very big topic. So I try to narrow it down. So if you have any questions, anything that's not clear about IELTS reading, or any other parts of the IELTS, any specific question types that you have about the test, write it in the chat, in the comment sections, or even DM me wherever you can. And then I'll look at the list of questions and I see which ones are more common between all the followers and all the people who watch the video or who are watching the video now. And then I'll make another video about it, or I'm going to go live again to talk about that question type. Okay, so don't forget that. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.